Alvin, we sit here in your gracious living room on the morning of Monday, August the 6th, Hiroshima Day. Now, I think it was 3 years ago at the Bishops' Conference, Methodist Bishops' Conference at the Pollard Auditorium here, I heard you for the first time talk about your idea of the sanctification of Hiroshima. That's a very big idea. I'm not sure that I understand it fully. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Once the atom bomb is invented, it's impossible to disinvent it. And so humankind is going to have to live with the bomb forever. 10,000 years, 100,000 years, however long the human race exists, assuming that we don't relapse into a kind of primitive recidivism, which some people say might happen, but I don't think so. I think we will be intelligent enough, and being intelligent enough, we will have bombs forever. The question then is, how do you live, not for the next 5 years, not the next 10 years, not the next 100 years, but forever with the nuclear bomb? And so it seemed to me that what was necessary was to impose on the whole idea of the bomb a kind of doctrine, a kind of ambience that would last forever. And you begin to think of what are the human beliefs that last essentially for all time. And the only beliefs that I could come up with were, of course, religious beliefs. The Catholic Church has been going for 2,000 years. There are Buddhist temples in Nepal that have been going continuously for 4,000 and 5,000 years. And so I began thinking, is it possible to create somehow a religious significance around the event at Hiroshima, which would then pass into somehow the basic religious beliefs of all humankind? Now, I came to this view some 5 years ago at the 40th anniversary of the Hiroshima Day, when it appeared to me that all of this huge outpouring of public manifestations, people congregating, making speeches, that the whole thing seemed to me to begin having a somewhat religious significance, in the sense that people were praying for peace. People were making out of Hiroshima an event, an international event that's almost unprecedented. You begin to think of it, what other event has mobilized so many people on a given occasion? I suppose Earth Day has, in some sense, been 100 million people mobilized, but I think Hiroshima Day also has that significance. And as I think of it, one must realize that in a certain sense, this whole business of planet Earth is acquiring a kind of religious significance. And in that same sense, I would think of Hiroshima acquiring this kind of significance. Now, I also came to these ideas when people would ask me, well, do you feel guilty about being involved in the Hiroshima business? Actually, I wasn't directly involved in the Hiroshima business, because the part of the project during the war that I was involved in was aimed at producing plutonium, which went into the Nagasaki weapon, not into the Hiroshima weapon. Hiroshima, of course, was U-235, which is what is produced here in Oak Ridge and was produced during the war. But as I began thinking about it, I realized that to sanctify an event, to make an historical event into a religious event, and that's what I mean by the sanctification of Hiroshima, there must be something very, very special about that event. It must be terrible. And you think about the events that have established religion, and I suppose the most terrible event in Christianity was the crucifixion. Now, you think then about the 100,000 people who were killed in Hiroshima, and you ask, were we justified? my view has always been the simple-minded one, that really saved a large number of lives because it ended the war and we didn't have to invade Japan, which would have meant maybe 500,000 or 1,000,000 people dying. But I guess I would then think that because the event was so terrible, it has the power, the significance to allow it to become the basis for a sanctification. You sanctify a terribly important, terrible event. You don't sanctify an everyday event. And so I suppose I would finally say that the 100,000 at Hiroshima, who in a sense were martyrs in the short run because their deaths meant the end of the war. And so they saved lots of other people from dying. But in the larger sense, I think they are martyrs to the sanctification of Hiroshima, that because they died, because it was so terrible, so unprecedented an event, there is this possibility as the years go by that people will erect essentially religious taboos about the use of nuclear weapons in war. And that's what I mean by the sanctification of Hiroshima.